Thank you, our organizers, for this nice opportunity to gather us here together on this inspiring conference. And now I will present something completely different after this nice lunch, without ancient DNA and struggling with cremations. So we are in really narrow box now. So my topic will be presenting results of our last year finished project, Childhood in Protohistory in the Southern Carpathian Basin, which studied this topic as a part of eponymous project funded by Croatian Science Foundation, and the project team consisted of numerous experienced researchers, as you can see, who significantly contributed to this study of this topic which I will present. Our research methodology used in the project stemmed from long-lasting research of cemeteries from late Bronze and Iron Age in southern part of Carpathian Basin, where the deceased were primarily buried by cremation. This practice influenced, of course, on material sources available for studying the topic of childhood. The traces found in cremation graves guided the choice of multidisciplinary research approaches, which within their capacities further illuminated the topic of childhood. Archaeological, anthropological, and chemical research was conducted, including analysis of stable isotope and organic residues. The primary focus of analysis was on children graves from northern Croatia, but within the broader spatial and chronological framework, a total approximately of 510 children graves from the same period have been examined, for which bioarchaeological data have been published. The study focused on the period from the 15th to the 2nd century BC, examining archaeological traces from several cemeteries and settlements. This lecture will present results of our research, with emphasis on the diachronic overview of care for children, their living spaces, diet, health, clothing, etc. Examining the traces of children in settlements from the late Bronze and early Iron Age revealed that children participated in daily life and used the same spaces within the settlements as adult members of the community. In the settlement of Dolina, dated to the 12th to 10th century BC, according to stratigraphy, radiocarbon dates, and other analysis, significant number of marbles were found in outdoor areas around the dwellings, including within post holes and similar features. These finds likely indicate that children played in courtyards of this household, while objects such as toys, small serving vessels, and miniature items of jewelry may point to the children's activities. Direct evidence of their presence in archaeological records remains limited. Particularly notable finds from the published literature is in settlement of Gradina on Bosut in today's Serbia, where the bathing feeding vessel and 2 rattles were found on the floor of the house 38, dated to the later phase of the early Iron Age, which may indicate that a baby lived in this household. A similar rattle was discovered in settlement in Ilok, in context dated to the end of the late Bronze Age, and it is known also from the settlement in Donja Dolina. The discovery of feeding bottles within the settlement can be associated with infants and practices related to the supplementary feeding and child care. By comparing data from our archaeological and anthropological analysis, it was observed that some of the vessels containing food and or drink in children's graves were of smaller volume. Certain graves also contained animal bones, the analysis of which helped determine whether they represented food portions, remains of funerary rituals, or toys, like astragalus. In examining children's graves and their associated grave goods, we explore the potential for studying diet through various methods, including organic residue analysis of ceramic vessels placed in graves, zooarchaeological analysis of animal bones, and stable isotope analysis of cremated osteological remains. Organic residue analysis were conducted on a larger sample of vessels from children's graves by Matea Hulina in our project in collaboration with the University of Bristol. As case studies, 2 graves, Batina grave 90, double grave in Batina, and Dolina grave 1 within Tumulus 15, underwent comprehensive organic residue analysis on all ceramic vessels. These examples will be used to present the results and to highlight some of open questions in interpretation. At the site of Batina, grave 90 contained the remains of 2 children. Each child was buried with an urn accompanied by a set of vessels, which likely held food and drink. The vessels used in funeral ritual could have been linked to the community that buried the deceased, or to the deceased themselves, as concluded from the size of the individual vessels placed in most children's graves. The size of the vessels was adapted to the age of the deceased. Small vessels may have served maybe as personal eating utensils, but also as containers whose contents were a meal for the deceased, quantitatively determined according to the age of the deceased. Organic residue lipid analysis is often used to obtain data on vessel use, diet, and various social and economic aspects of archaeological community. Our first preliminary analysis of organic residue from dead cemeteries was one Kantaros in grave 78 at Sotin, and it has shown traces of millet, what was very encouraged. But all these vessels from this grave 90 have been analyzed following the standard protocol for this type of research at the University of Bristol. Traces of lipids were found on all 9 samples from grave 19, but only 1 sample allowed for the 30C isotope analysis, where 3 samples contain insufficient lipids for interpretation. The obtained isotope value of 13C falls between values for ruminants, cattle, sheep, or goats, and non-ruminant pig apidus fats, and its position outside confidence ellipsis and along the mixing curve indicates that it is most likely a mixture of ruminant and non-ruminant fats. The vessel in grave served as an urn, and it was most likely used for food preparation before it was given its new function. Most of the vessels from both graves contained very small amounts of lipids and or could not be satisfactorily interpreted due to the modern contamination. However, this most likely does not mean that these vessels were placed in graves and used as containers. Lipids are best preserved in vessels where something is cooked in them, whereas other activities leave weak traces. Some vessels, both in grave and during the lifetime of the deceased, may have been used as vessels for contents that would not leave strong traces. As a part of this project, also grave 1 in Tumulus 15 and site of Dolina was investigated, and a child grave was discovered, and based on the grave goods, it appears to be connected with 2 neighboring tumuli. The volume of the cup and the size of the buttons found in the grave suggested a younger individual, a conclusion confirmed by anthropological analysis, which identified the remains as belonging to a child aged between 4 and 7 years. Organic residue analysis was conducted on all vessels in the grave, as well as on the soil fills of the vessels. Notably, significant amounts of lipids suitable for interpretation were detected in only 1 shirt belonging to a single vessel, a cup. The sediment samples didn't contain lipid concentration interpretable in archaeological terms. In the cup sample from Dolina, palmitic and stearic acids were found in dominant concentration alongside possible indicator of beeswax. The combination suggests that the potential mixing of animal fat and beeswax was found. Another indicator that may point to the children's diet in the presence of animal remains in graves which are associated with meat-based meals. Eggshells were discovered in 2 graves where children were buried. In the double grave, already mentioned double grave 19 from Batina, fish bones were found in the bowl near the urn of the younger child, but that bowl didn't give us any signal in stable isotope, in organic residue analysis. Sorry. In children graves from Doroslovo, sheep, goat, and pig bones were discovered. Based on the preserved bones, it could be concluded which part of the meat was placed in the grave as a meal, while some animal parts may have had other function as well. Preliminary results of stable strontium isotope analysis may indicate differences in the diets of children in certain communities at the beginning of the late Bronze Age in today northwestern Croatia. Cooperation with Christoph Sneck's team in BB Lab at Vrije University in Brussels and first results open new avenues in research of plant diet of late Bronze Age communities in this region. 3 outliers are detected on the higher end of the distribution. Preliminary results indicate that only 3 individuals likely consumed more foodstuffs from the less area compared to the majority of population in Poljana Križevačka II. Just one outliner of these 3 is child, grave 6, with connection with neighboring grave in horizontal stratigraphy of the cemetery with similar signal in results of stable isotope analysis. Another valuable indicator of diet and living condition is the presence of pathological traces preserved on cremated remains. We played a little bit with this data with Austrian Katharina's team, and child pathologists were rarely identified only in single cremation grave, primarily due to the poor preservation of osteological material caused by cremation processes. Nevertheless, the analysis of preserved pathological traces on cremated bone remains has yielded some noteworthy insights. The number of pathological markers recorded on osteological remains of children from late Bronze Age was higher than those from the Iron Age, potentially indicated more challenging living conditions during earlier period. In one case, the possible presence of scurvy evidenced by endocranial lesions, ectocranial porosity, and porosity on a long bone fragment in child from the grave 5 at Poljana Križevačka, aged 0 to 5 years, points to prolonged exposure to unfavorable living conditions and a diet of poor or insufficient quality. These 3 types of pathology were the most frequently observed during the anthropological analysis of children cremated remains. For the early Iron Age, these findings could be compared with results from inhumation burials also in southeastern part of Carpathian Basin from 6th to 4th century BC, where even very young children under the age of 5 exhibited pathological changes. Also from Hungary is published some graves, some cemeteries from that period, and it can be compared. Very nice. So rarely observed these pathological changes recorded in the youngest age group are more indicative of their way of life than the possible cause of death, which was already stressed yesterday in some talks. Published data on children held during the late Iron Age in our region has recently been collected in a paper published by Marko Dizdar. Only limited evidence survives regarding children's clothing, which would have been adapted to the both daily living conditions and social status. I should say costume, maybe. Comparison of data from cremation and inhumation graves during the early Iron Age suggests that the mode of burial did not significantly affect the preservation of certain costume elements in jewelry intended for children. Greater variation is observed in funerary customs and the socio-economic capabilities of the communities in which children lived. Care for children is reflected in costume elements proportioned to their size, such as fibula, clearly visible in double burials, as in example from Zvonimirovo. This attention to scale in personal adornment for children can be traced throughout the study period from the 15th to the 2nd century BC. Such attention is also evident in richly furnished children's graves, such as grave LT84 at Zvonimirovo. Care and nurturing are expressed not only through material culture, but also in symbolic forms. For instance, figurative depictions of pregnant women. The concern for children extended into the afterlife, as seen in the burial of the baby and symbolic little urn with larger urn alongside an adult, and in inclusion of smaller vessels and toys, such as marbles, within the children's graves from Batina. Some future avenues for further research include increasing the sample size for organic residue analysis, systematic measurement of vessels volumes, and comparisons across age groups. Also interpreting forthcoming strontium isotope analysis results within their archaeological context, and investigating where material evidence of child care can be identified in the Bronze and Iron Age context, depending on the body treatment, mortuary practice, and settlement organization in region. And the natural environment in which children grew up shaped their daily activities and experiences. Care expressed through nourishment, clothing, and protection influence not only their survival, but the knowledge and values transmitted to the future generations. Though fragmentary, the archaeological record provides meaningful insights into the many dimensions of childhood in prehistory and into the role of the children as both integral members of past society and creators of their future. Thank you for your attention.